Lawmakers can vote their conscience on expelling Santos House. Washington, AP. Speaker Mike Johnson expressed reservations Wednesday about expelling Representative George Santos from the House this week, but said he and other GOP leaders will not push colleagues to oppose removing the New York Republican from office. "We're going to allow people to vote their conscience," Johnson said. Santos has survived 2 previous expulsion efforts in his first year in Congress and has said he will not seek re-election, but the hands-off approach this time could tip the scales against him. Support for ousting Santos has grown after a months-long investigation by the House Ethics Committee found that Santos sought to fraudulently exploit every aspect of his House candidacy for his own personal financial profit. Johnson, Arla, said he has heard Republican lawmakers make forceful arguments on both sides. Some have argued that Santos should have his day in court before an expulsion vote occurs. That has been the precedent in the House so far. Others believe that some of the things Santos did are infractions against the House itself, and deserving of expulsion. "And so what we've said as the leadership team is we're going to allow people to vote their conscience. I think is the only appropriate thing we can do," Johnson said. "We've not whipped the vote and we wouldn't. I trust that people will make that decision thoughtfully and in good faith. I personally have real reservations about doing this. I'm concerned about a precedent that may be set." Lawmakers returned from their Thanksgiving break this week with competing expulsion resolutions brought to the floor, one from Democrats, the other from Republicans. The resolutions require leadership to bring them up for consideration within 2 days, though it is expected that Democrats would not seek a second vote if Johnson brings the Republican expulsion resolution to the floor first. A vote on expulsion could occur as early as Thursday, though. Johnson suggested it would slip to Friday. File. Representative George Santos, RNY, watches as Republicans try to elect Representative Mike Johnson, Arla, to be the new House Speaker, at the Capitol in Washington, October 25, 2023. The House Ethics Panel says it has found substantial evidence of law-breaking by Republican Representative George Santos of New York and has referred its findings to the Justice Department. AP photo, Alex Brandon, file. In the history of the House, only 5 members have been expelled, which is the most serious form of punishment the House can exact on its members. Only 2 have been removed by their colleagues since the Civil War. Time equals 400 Ms. Greater than the Republican resolution is sponsored by Representative Michael Guest of Mississippi, chairman of the House Ethics Committee. It states that the committee's investigation determined there was substantial evidence that Santos violated federal law and the rules of the House, namely by converting campaign funds to personal use and through systemic reporting errors in his 2020 and 2022 campaigns filings with the Federal Election Commission. It also noted Santos' lack of candor with investigators, saying he provided them with misrepresentations and delay tactics. Given his egregious violations, Santos is not fit to serve in the House and should be expelled, according to the resolution. Time equals 400 Ms. Greater than Santos, who is facing 23 charges in federal court, defiantly rejected the committee's findings in remarks on the House floor shortly after the resolution from Guest was offered by Representative Anthony Desposito, RNY. Santos has pleaded not guilty. The process in which the Ethics Committee engaged was incomplete, irresponsible, and littered with hyperbole and littered with biased opinions, Santos said. Some Republicans are holding out hope that Santos will resign before an expulsion vote. But he has been adamant that will not happen. To set the record straight and put this in the record, I will not be resigning, Santos said on Tuesday night. Johnson's remarks came after a closed-door meeting among Republicans. There is division within the conference about how to deal with Santos. At least 2/3 of the members present and voting must vote for the resolution for Santos to be expelled. Time equals 400 Ms. Greater than Rep. Ralph Norman, RSC, said, "Let the people of New York deal with him. He's already said he's not running," Norman said. "Our priorities are misplaced by putting this at the top of the list, and even having a conversation about it. To me, as I told the rest of them, Americans deserve better." Added Representative Bob Good, RVA. "This is a terrible, dangerous precedent. An expulsion resolution voted on in early November failed by a vote of 179 for expulsion and 213 against, with 19 voting present. Many Republicans wanted to wait for the House Ethics Committee to complete its investigation before making such a decision about Santos. Rep. Dusty Johnson, RSD, joined with most Republicans in voting against expulsion 4 weeks ago. But this time he will be a yes, he said. It's very clear this guy is a crook, Johnson said. His presence is unbecoming of the House. I'll certainly vote to expel, and I think it will be a pretty strong bipartisan vote. Republicans hold a 222 to 213 majority in the House. If Santos is forced from Congress, New York law will require Democratic Governor Kathy Hochul to call a special election for his seat. The governor would have 10 days from the day Santos leaves office to issue a proclamation calling for an election, and then that election would have to take place between 70 days and 80 days from her proclamation. More than a dozen candidates are already running for Santos' seat, including former Representative Tom Suozzi, a Democrat who previously represented the district before an unsuccessful run for governor last year. Associated Press writers Anthony Izaguirre in Albany, New York, and Farnoosh Amiri contributed to this report. File. Representative George Santos, RNY, talks to reporters as House Republicans hold a caucus meeting at the Capitol in Washington, Friday, October 13, 2023. Santos has said he expected to be expelled from Congress following a scathing report by the House Ethics Committee that found substantial evidence of lawbreaking by the New York Republican. The comments on Friday, November 24, came during a 3-hour conversation on X Spaces in which Santos lashed out at colleagues and described the committee's report as slanderous. AP photo, Maryam Zuhaib, file. Representative George Santos, RNY, speaks to reporters outside the Capitol, in Washington, May 17, 2023. The House Ethics Panel says it has found substantial evidence of lawbreaking by Republican Representative George Santos of New York and has referred its findings to the Justice Department. AP photo, J. Scott Applewhite, file. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, Arla. And House Republicans meet with reporters to discuss their efforts to investigate President Joe Biden and his son Hunter Biden, at the Capitol in Washington, Wednesday, November 29, 2023. AP photo, J. Scott Applewhite.